What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and welcome back to the GFY Podcast. I'm excited about this week's podcast. I think you're really going to like our guest that we have today. And speaking of that guest, it is someone you may already know because he's kind of a big deal.
Wherever you're listening to this podcast, please make sure that you leave it a like, leave it a rating, leave a comment. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. Our guest today is a YouTuber, a Twitch streamer, and also a reality TV star.
That's our boy, Dan Gheesling. So everybody welcome our boy, Dan Gheesling.
What made you guys start a podcast?
We had one probably 2 years ago with all the crew, all of our friends that play together, and I was running it, and we had some guys that wanted to get on every single time, and then we had some guys that didn't want to get on, and so it was like pulling teeth. I felt obligated to always ask those guys to get on, and so after about 20 episodes, I ended up like shutting it down just because it was just like pulling teeth instead of recording content.
Yeah, it was more like a chore.
Yeah.
People are like trying to come up with excuses why they couldn't be there and stuff. Like, dude, you don't have to lie to us. Just tell us you don't want to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. Like, so you guys are just self-aware, like, hey, well, let's just do our own thing then.
Yeah. And so we took about a year break, and then we're back with it. And so,
What made you guys want to give it another shot?
just because it was something different. I mean, we've been in the gaming scene for like 10 years, and it's always been just jokes and stuff like that. We wanted to be a little bit more serious this side, let people see the serious side of us a little bit, and still see the funny side of us too, and have our little personalities and tell stories, and something we don't really get to do with our content most of the time.
No, I got you. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted is like you said, we'd been doing gaming stuff for, 10 years. And so we know a lot of people in the gaming community. So I was like, why don't we just take this idea and go out and get people, like bring in somebody to interview. Because, I mean, both of us, we listen to a bunch of podcasts anyway, like Joe Rogan and a bunch of those other guys, And so we were like, why don't we just, do that kind of on a gaming level.
I got you.
I know there's other people that do it, but, just for something to do.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing, man. Like, I started mine a year ago. It'd be a year on Tuesday.
Yeah,
and,
so you're doing your live. Aren't you doing it live? Your 1 year anniversary?
Yeah. And there's just a lot of white space here, meaning like there's like, out of everything I've done in the past year, like starting the podcast has had the most depth, meaning I get a lot of DMs about it. I just feel like, you guys know Twitch and YouTube, there's a lot of, I don't call it saturation, but there's more bodies in the way, and podcasting there's not. So you guys are super smart, and I'm sure you guys have probably seen similar stuff too. It's just to me, the way I look at it, it's a deeper way to connect with an audience. If someone puts you in their headphones and you're working out or you're commuting, it's like, it's kind of personal. You know what I mean? Versus like a video.
Yeah. It really is. We get a lot of feedback. People, you probably get the same thing, is everyone says, man, you're my Monday morning wake up. Like, I literally put you on the way to work and on the way back from work, or I have a long drive on this thing and this. And so, like, dude, I listen to you guys, and I like binge. A lot of people will wait for like 3 or 4 episodes and then knock it all out in one sitting. So it's pretty cool for people too.
Yeah. I'm fired up for you guys, because I think it's, I saw you guys are doing it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So thanks so much for asking me to come on.
So what is your podcast mainly about, Dan? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I just I started as kind of almost like a journal to say, just chronicle like all the stuff I'm going through in YouTube and Twitch, the good stuff, the stuff I try that doesn't work, the bad stuff, issues. Right. And then, and then just kind of mixing in their interviews. I think the biggest thing I always wanted to start a podcast, but I'm like, it's got to be structured in a format and this and that. And this one, I just go. I do 1 episode a week, and then I have a producer that will like take bits from Twitch and YouTube and kind of make mini podcast episodes. There's this guy I follow. You guys may or may not have heard him. His name's Gary V. And have you guys ever heard of him?
I don't think so. If I saw his like stuff, I might know, but no, not off the top of my head.
You should really listen to his podcast. He's just very forward thinking in business and the social space. And so I just really just emulate what he executes. So he has a podcast and then he has like these random mini podcast episodes that clip it. And so to answer your question, I forget what the question was, but I just started it because it's something I wanted to do. And I think it's, it's a great way to connect with, the community that you have and also grow and stuff like that. And plus it's like you guys, it's nice to have an outlet to talk about things that may be on the top of your head.
Yeah. I think I had someone this week tweet about something about Gary V, and I kind of brushed it off, and I kind of listened to a little bit. They were talking about how forward-thinking. When you said forward-thinking, that got me thinking, I saw that tweet. I saw a girl's tweet, and she was like, yeah, I listened to this guy's podcast, and it really got me thinking about my content and how I approach it, and what are the steps, like, as not just a content creator, but as a listener, and what steps I need to take to make myself watchable, and what would I want to see as a viewer and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's the same guy. I think it is. I'm trying to look up the tweet right now, but that's pretty cool though. Pretty cool.
Dude, I'll tell you this about Gary Vee. So I've been probably following his stuff for maybe like 6 years. Mm-hmm. And like he's really blown up in the past year or two, but he wrote an article once. It actually might have been a podcast. So I was doing a lot of speaking in college. I was going to colleges and speaking a lot, and it just really wasn't kind of sitting well with me in terms of I was kind of on the fence. Like it paid really well, but I wasn't really enjoying it. And he released his podcast, and he just said something that really spoke to me. And I just literally the next step, I stopped speaking and I did a 180 with my entire life. It's crazy. Like it's super, like he's just so practical and gives such real advice. It's not BS. And I mean, he's the only podcast that I listen to regularly. And cause you guys will listen to one of his episodes and you'll have 10 different ideas on how to make your channels better, your communities better, everything. I can't recommend it high enough.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm still looking for that tweet, but I'm 99% sure that that's who it was that they were talking about, because it sounds exactly what you're talking about. That's awesome, though. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. D20 was telling me a lot about how you got into, you were in Big Brother, you were a teacher before that and a coach, and then how you kind of transitioned into gaming afterwards. Like, can you tell me a little bit about your story? Because I'm very intrigued on the steps that you took throughout yours. I know you don't have to give me the whole.
Yeah, it's not a regular story. Like, I just started YouTube, as a hobby. Like you have such a story before that kind of thing,
Yeah. So long story short, as a kid, I grew up and Survivor was debuted. I think I was 15 or 16, and I really liked it. But internally, I'm like, I'd love to compete in that, but I know I won't last outdoors. I'm not an outdoorsy type of guy. And then right after there, Big Brother came on, it premiered, and it's the same game as Survivor, except it takes place in a house. So you remove
food.
Yeah, and you get food. You don't have to brave the elements. It's like mental Survivor. And so at age 16, I'm like, I knew I wanted to do this. So fast forward 5+ years, I applied. So you have to be 21 to apply, and I applied 4 years in a row and back and forth, and then I finally get on, and I was fortunate enough to play and win, and winning the money. I come from the Midwest. I'm from a blue collar town, Dearborn, Michigan, and I had this money as a 25-year-old, and I just didn't want to waste it. And so along with that, I did fairly well in the show, and I played really hard, but I didn't really go after anyone. So as a result, I had kind of a community before there were communities. I just had a lot of support. And as a kid, I always grew up playing video games. And then I went on Big Brother again, and it was the second time that I went on that I got off the show, and I tweeted something. Cause I've always been kind of like an undercover nerd. I grew up with a computer when I was 2, and you're talking like early 80s. My dad just always had a computer, was really into that stuff.
That's rare.
Anyways, I can remember it. But so I was always kind of undercover nerd, and I just randomly tweeted out. I was in Seattle for like a Big Brother press event, and I knew that's where the headquarters for Magic the Gathering or Wizards of the Coast was. So I sent out a tweet. I said, hey, this is after 2 times on Big Brother. I'm like, hey, can anyone get me into a tour of Wizards of the Coast? It's pretty hard to get in there. And this guy named Marcus Graham, he also goes by the name DJ Wheat, reached out to me and said, hey, I can get you in. And so I connected with him. He ends up being, and I didn't know him at the time, he ends up being like the John Madden of esports. He was a caster before there was casting, and then he went on to work at Twitch. So he kind of got me hooked into Twitch. And at this point, it's like 2011. I had no idea that people played video games on the internet and people would watch them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on
it seems
YouTube.
outlandish when you first think about it.
Yeah, at that time it was really, kind of barely getting started anyway.
It was crazy. And like, I love video games my entire life. I just didn't know there was kind of this combination of entertainment and video games. And I saw it and he's like, hey, you should really do this and you should try it on Twitch. And so I did it. I think my first stream was like December 2011, maybe. And it just kind of grew from there. And just being in that space, one of the hardest things for me to do was pivot from, hey, you're Dan from Big Brother. Why are you playing video games? You know, so it's really like you're known for, quote unquote, known for one thing on the internet and you're trying to like pivot. It was a tough thing. It just takes a lot of time. But long story short, that's kind of how I got started. And then, I met Speedy in 2012 random. I was at E3 and someone's like, hey, Speedy's there. You should meet him. And I didn't know who Speedy was or anything like that, but yeah. And like, so I met Speedy and like, this is like, I don't know who anyone is. I'm just at E3 walking around.
Yeah.
And then,
you probably fanboyed. He loves Big Brother.
He
still watches
me and
it.
him are the one. Yeah, me and him are the ones that always talk Big Brother, and everybody else is like, sure.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens with the internet. Someone knew that I was at E3 and they knew Speedy was had watched Big Brother. So like, hey, you should meet Speedy. I'm like, cool, and then.
Cool.
Kind of, but that's how the internet works. You meet
weird.
People. Yeah.
It is just a strange thing. So what made you decide that you were going to take that path instead of, going back to coaching and teaching and stuff like that? Like once you won the money, were you just kind of like, good, now I don't have to teach anymore, or what was the?
Nah, so I actually, after I won the money, I went right back to teaching more or less. So I got some really good advice from some former players that I respected, players of, Big Brother players. They're like, hey, go back to your life as fast as possible. Cause it's really, when you go through reality TV, it's not normal at all. Like you're thrust upon this limelight and it's really, really weird where for like 30 days, 60 days, it's like you go from being a regular person to all of a sudden, you're all over the internet. People are reaching out to you, interview. It's not a like natural progression because it's not like you're an actor that you have this career that builds up. It's like, hey, you're on a TV show. Here's your normal life. You walk out and, all these people want to talk to you. It's a really tough transition. So I went back to teaching and for a while and coaching. And then I got into college speaking and then just kind of, I'm actually going back to coaching this year, but I have a business that I run outside of Twitch and YouTube that I don't really talk about online, but it's been a really fun go of it. But, for me, YouTube and Twitch started out as something I enjoyed doing, like a hobby. Mm-hmm. And now it's something that I enjoy doing and it's grown into like a business, which is even cooler. I mean, as you guys can attest.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. I had a couple questions before you get into more D20. Number one, what subject did you teach? Cause I gotta know that.
So I taught freshman biology.
That's tough. That's tough.
Health class, gym.
Okay.
I taught business. Gym was the best because we would play, when I grew up, we played dodgeball.
And everybody did.
Sure.
Still do.
Yeah. So we played dodgeball and it's like the best time because you have some of these kids in your biology class and some of them are in gym class. And it's like competitive. And so we were able to pull off dodgeball until there was this other gym class and there was a second gym on the campus that I taught. And on the upper level of the gym was like a running track. So you had the basketball court on the floor. Yeah. And a running track on above. And then, this teacher gets the idea to play sniper dodgeball with kids hanging over the railing playing dodgeball. So one day I'm doing gym class and you're playing dodgeball and the principal comes in and is like, hey, you can't play dodgeball anymore. I'm like, why not? He's like, well, they broke a bunch of windows and a kid got hurt playing sniper dodgeball. I'm like, well, thanks for ruining it for us all.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
We played one called Dead Man, and basically this is pretty dangerous too, is where when you get out, you don't go to the side, you go to the middle. You go to the middle and sit down. So you can still get hit with a ball. The only way you can get back in is if you grab the person on your team and pull them like they're Lieutenant Dan all the way across the free throw line, and then they can get up after they cross the free throw line on like a basketball court. Yeah, so that's the only way. And so what would happen? They would pull.
Was that school or was that like just friends?
Yeah,
that's in school?
Yeah. And so when you pick them up, you have no hands because you have to put your hands underneath their armpits to drag them.
Yeah, you gotta like drag them. So like you're just
You're
you
getting
can
hit in
leave
the
them and
face.
come back
That's
and get
what's
them, but like, I mean, you're just kind of sitting duck.
Did that person have to play dead, or could they fight you?
I mean, they can help a little bit. They could help a little bit. Like
they're just sitting there, and like you could use your feet to kind of scoop, but your butt had to stay on the floor.
Wow.
And then somebody's like pulling you back, and so you like.
Yeah.
It was like a game that never ended because like as soon as you got low on people, you just like hold all the balls and then drag everybody back in, and it just kept going like forever.
Yeah.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's how you get our calories out. But another question I had was, no, you were into coaching and you talked a little bit about going back into it. You don't have to talk much about that. But what did you coach? Were you at a small school where you had to do multiple sports, like 2 or 3, or were you just football, or what was the deal with the coaching?
Yeah, so I started out, I played football in high school. I was of very average ability, but I can always remember as a kid, I would run in sprints, and I really liked the coach at the time. And one day, he's blowing the whistle, and I thought one day, this is probably 9th grade. I thought one day I want to be the dude on the other side of the whistle. I don't want to be running these sprints, but I like, yeah. So I kind of knew that in my head. So when I went to college, I volunteered. That's a whole different story, but I wrote a letter. I knocked on the door. I emailed until I went to school at Michigan State University. Until they kind of took me in as a student manager. So I did equipment stuff for 4 years in college. And then when I graduated college, I'd spent all my free time there. So I didn't really get into really any trouble in college, which was good because I spent all my free time in this football building. So after I did the equipment stuff, I'd hang out with the coaches and I'd just sit there and they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, if you have anything you need me to do, let me know. I'll be here. So one day, this coach, his name's Coach Haynes. He's like, hey, I need you to run some copies and staple this. And then it went from that to, hey, will you watch this film and draw these routes? And hey, will you help me do this? And so after 4 years of doing that, when I graduated, there's this position that's, it's called a graduate assistant. So they pay for your, so I was a GA at Michigan State for 2 years. And I essentially coached college football for 2 years and under John L. Smith at Michigan State. And long story short, well, he's a great guy, a great coach. And it was such a great experience because I worked 17 hours a day and I just really learned how to work hard. I learned a lot of football and I had a choice. There was kind of the fork in the road and where I had a path to pursue college football or I could coach high school football. And for me, I love football, but the coaching staff I was on got fired and, you saw the coach come in with their family, the kids would be crying because now they got to move. Yeah. And they have no control. They could go to Oregon, Montana. So then from there, I ended up coaching high school football and, at a really talented high school in Michigan. It's a great spot. We get a lot of great kids, great players, and it's a great place to coach. So I coached there for 7 years. We won a couple state titles and then I had, my 2 sons. So I took a couple of years off, but I'm looking forward to going back as just as like a volunteer coach.
That's cool.
It'll be a lot of fun.
That's cool. John L. Smith, I see you didn't do too well there. That was after Saban was there, correct?
So when Saban, it went Bobby Williams, and then after Bobby Williams was John L. Smith. And John L. Smith was he was like a Conference USA, really kind of outlandish coach, but very, very successful. I just felt he was a really good head coach, but Big Ten, it was Michigan State was a tough spot for him, but I'm always eternally grateful for him because most of the people in the graduate assistant position, either their dad's coach or they were former players, and he took a shot on me, and I'm always be grateful for that.
Yeah, it's like a fraternity. I mean, anybody
100%.
that gives you a shot or show you some loyalty, you want to show them loyalty back. You don't ever want to say anything bad about them.
But he's a great guy. It didn't work out for Michigan State, but just a good guy, and eternally grateful for the opportunity.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how much you keep up with him, but he's at a smaller school now in Georgia, I believe, or somewhere close to that.
Yeah. So he was at Kentucky State, and I think he got fired.
Now, wasn't that his alma mater or something that he went to after Arkansas, maybe?
So what happened was he went to, not BYU, Weber State.
Yeah, that's where it was, Weber. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
They hired him at Weber State, and then Arkansas had a bunch of issues. He used to coach at Arkansas, or there was a connection there. So they brought him in as an interim head coach, and he kind of left. He left Weber State like a month after being named the head coach. Okay. And so that kind of, then things didn't work out in Arkansas. Then he got the head job at Kentucky State, and he was let go in this past December there.
Okay. What about Coach Haynes? Is he still around, or what's up with him?
Yeah, Coach Haynes, man, that's my guy. So he so he was one of the guys, he wanted me to come to Ohio State with him, and he's like, hey, we got a spot for you. And I kind of had to make that decision. And, I decided not to, but ironically enough, he got me to the high school I'm at now, which I'm so great. That changed my entire life. But so he went on to be, a D coordinator at Arkansas and then a head coach at Kent State. And then, so we met at Michigan State. Now he's back at Michigan State, which is amazing. That's because cool. Now he's right there. And I saw him at a game last year, and it's just awesome, man. It's just like, it's like anything else. The people you connect with, and you always want the best for them. And it's even better when you're in the same state.
That's cool, man. That's a good little, a coaching tree that you're a part of and always be a part of. That's pretty cool.
I'll tell you what, like, there's a lot of people on John L. Smith's staff that I coach with that are head coaches now. Like, and there's a couple you could feel. There was the, Coach McElwain. He was a head coach at Florida, and and then now he's the head coach at Central Michigan. There's Coach Nussmeier. There are just so many, really, really talented coaches on that staff. And it was cool to be a part of that. And then to see all these guys, like, I'll give you another. I interned for the Detroit Lions, and I was an intern next to Adam Gase, who Adam Gase was the, head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now he's the head coach of the Jets. When I was a GA at Michigan State, Matt LaFleur came in and worked our camp. So we were pretty tight. We're kind of at the same level. Now he's the head coach of the Packers. So it's just all these people that that stayed in the business have been successful, and you kind of root for those guys a little bit more.
That's cool. You should have stayed with one or two of them and got you a good old paycheck, Dan. That would have been a nice little paycheck, buddy.
I mean, to be a college or NFL head coach, that's it. There is that's your entire life. And,
you can't have a family, really. I mean, you're 24/7 all the time. You get a couple of weeks here and there, but for the most part, you're recruiting, you're up there. Those kids that are up there are your kids. And so I get it. You not wanting to go to college, if you're wanting to start a family, having two kids of your own, then that's definitely the way to go is a high school route for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's all contingent too on the head coach. There's some head coaches that get it and kind of make the family a part of it, and some are not. But the bottom line is, as an assistant coach, you're not really in control of that. You just kind of got to go where you get a job. And so it's 100% doable. I think they have a really good culture at Michigan State now. I think anywhere, if you're a fan of college football and you like kind of looking underneath the hood, if you look at coaching staffs that have been together for a very long time, where there's not a lot of turnover, that's usually an indication that the head coach has really created an atmosphere that's super positive for everyone and their families. And Coach D'Antonio at Michigan State, like, you look at that, I think they may have lost 3 coaches in 10 years, which is insane. I don't know how he
does it, dude. Yeah. He's getting a bunch of 3-stars every year, and he's winning games after game after game. It's crazy. And if you look at Clemson, Clemson's, I think they had 1 turnover in the last 3 or 4 years, something like that. And, Venables, I think, is their D coordinator, and he has had so many job offers to be the head coach places, and he won't go anywhere because he knows it's a good situation. Why break something up?
Well, he's getting paid.
He's getting paid. He's getting like $2.5 million. He's not
getting paid, and his job's not on the line.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think the other cool thing is Dabo does a good job of elevating where, he puts him in the spotlight. He gives him some of the shine, because I think that's important too. Some guys want that, and some D coordinators, unless you're a fan of that team, you probably don't know them, but everyone knows Venables because he's kind of in the spotlight.
Right.
Yeah. And he's the top name every year for jobs.
Every job,
when they come open.
Yeah. So it was I learned so much from that. I learned so much football, and I learned how to work my face off, and it was such a good experience to have that background.
So how's your team looking this year, the team that you're volunteering with?
Well, I'll tell you what. So I'm not trying to flex at all, but every time I've been, every season I've been there that I didn't leave for Big Brother or anything, we made the state finals. We didn't always win, but we always made the state finals. It's just a really prominent high school that, there's my first biology class that I taught there's a kid, he's 5'6", 5'6", really, really tough football player. And he ends up growing into the 6'4", monster. He's an all-pro in the NFL. It's just that the school attracts a lot of really talented players and a lot of good guys. And so it's a fun place to coach because it's almost like coaching college because there's so much talent there, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a private school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a private.
So, I mean, I guess you kind of get to recruit somewhat. So, I mean, it's kind of
That's the misnomer. Yeah, and in Michigan, you can't recruit, and we don't recruit. But the thing is, when you...
So
when
good, people want to move into your district.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the thing. It's illegal to recruit, but if you want to play ball and you really want to play ball, there's a couple schools you're going to look at, and they don't need to knock on your door. You're going to go seek them out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some, private schools around here that... like just because, they're either winning state titles or in the state championship every year. And so, people drive their kids, an hour or however far, to drop them off at school every day just so they can go to school there.
And have an opportunity to, because every parent thinks that their kid is going to be D1, the end, right? And so if the kid is anywhere average, decent, whatever, and he would start for the local school that's a public school that's not that big of a school, then they're gonna want to go to this private school. So we have a few that are in the state that are pretty dominant, not too crazy, but pretty dominant when it comes to that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of, I've seen a lot of states too. I don't know if you've seen this, Dan, but a lot of states are now having their private school have their own conferences and state titles separate from the public schools. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so I'm aware that it hasn't happened in Michigan, and I hope it doesn't, because in Michigan, there's not enough private schools to kind of allow for that to happen. And it's different, and the things are a little bit different in Michigan. They're really, my opinion, I think they're setting the kids behind a little bit in terms of, like, we don't have spring ball. There's a lot of things that in Michigan you can't do athletically that they do in Florida or Ohio or Texas. I think over time, I'm very certain that over time you'll see the number of legit prospects out of the state of Michigan go down because they're really limiting, like, contact and things like that. And I think that's a good thing within reason, but it's changed. I've been coaching in high school about 10 years, and it's changed so much. And I think there's good things about it and there's bad things, but you still got to teach kids how to hit and tackle, and
that's the biggest
thing. Got to do it right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, and I think, in the past couple of years, there's been so much stuff with concussion and CTE and all that kind of stuff that I'm sure there's parents that are like, oh, my kid's a huge kid and would be a good player, but I don't want him to play.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, the injuries and stuff, I feel like every year the kids get faster and stronger. And I think in 10, 15, maybe even 5 years, I think at the high school level, we may not even in the NFL, I think 20 years from now, the game's going to be so different just because, you got to take care of these guys. And that it's one thing, you tear an ACL or an arm, but when you deal with head injuries, it's such a, that's life changing. Not that a knee injury isn't, but, something's going to change, and I think it'll continue to change. And you see it in the NFL a little bit, how they protect the quarterbacks, but what about the linebackers? The game's going to continue to change and evolve, and I think it's for the better.
Yeah, I don't think there's a perfect way to protect everyone yet. I think there, a lot of trial and error going on right now, but we'll see. Like, I don't like some of the stuff with the receivers and safeties where they got to let up, and they even, there's only certain situations where, you not putting your head down is acceptable or not acceptable. And there's just some fishy plays, and I get it, you got to protect everybody, but there's some plays that the guy wouldn't make it if he wasn't diving head first, hands out, and accidentally make contact with somebody's, side of their face mask. Like, it wasn't intentional. It's kind of one of those things where is it a personal or is it just an accident kind of thing? But I don't know. There's a lot of things going on with college and the NFL right now with, if you're a fan or if you play the game, we all think that it needs to change a little bit for the better for the actual players, but we'll see. I don't know. Like, it's getting a little crazy with the quarterbacks, and it's getting a little crazy with the safeties and wide receivers right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pretend to have the answers, but I will say a really dangerous thing that I've seen is kids get hurt when they're not going 100%. And so, you got a defender and you're like, hey, you have to let up. It puts him in a tough injury prone position as well. And so I don't have the answer, but, hopefully that things will continue to evolve and change and protect the players. But I think my opinion, and I'll put this on ink, I think you will see, I don't know where the line is right now, but I think you'll continue to see the NBA dwarf the NFL just because I think you're going to see less and less kids play football. And I think the NFL, it's a whole different discussion, but I think the NFL is very protective over the brand where the NBA gets it. Like, when's the last time you've been, you scroll on Instagram, you see hundreds and hundreds of NBA cut-ups and highlights, and the NFL is way more protective over that stuff, and I think it hurts them in the world that we're in today.
I think a lot of parents are now starting to think really heavy about putting their kids in the contact sport like football, even if you do have the protection with the shoulder pads and helmets, and helmets have come a long way, especially in the last, I guess, 10 years for you. You could probably tell that alone with your team. But I think a lot of parents are now switching over to basketball and switching over to sports that concussions aren't as high now because of that kind of stuff. And to be honest, football it's a 24/7 sport. If you're not in the gym lifting or out there on the grind, or the practices that take hours upon hours and a lot of dedication and hard work, and it's a team sport, a true team sport, then that's tough on a kid. It's tough on the parents. It's tough on everybody when it comes to that. And I think basketball is a little bit easier. You're in the air conditioner. You play in these, not just high school, but you're playing these, what is it called? Jesus, I lost it. The AAU ball. That's just like everybody's hyped. Everybody's stepdad is now a coach and telling everybody that they're going to be the next LeBron James if you be on my team, and we'll make this super team, and we'll go travel to Florida and stay in a hotel, and it'll be great, and everything's, sunshine and rainbows until I get to high school, and I'm not that good as I thought I was. But I see a lot of players, and you could say the same, that in the Pee-wee and also probably in the high school, there's not as many players or good athletes as there used to be 10 or 15 years ago. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I see so far.
Well, I'll tell you this, and this I will, stand by to the grave. This is both at the collegiate level and at the high school level. The best athletes do not specialize in one sport, which is the inverse of what a lot of parents think. And
I agree with that.
The best point guard also plays football. The best quarterback also is a point guard for the basketball team, or a pitcher, because you develop different skills. As a point guard, you have vision that helps in football. But I think a lot of things are happening is that you get a kid that specializes, only plays basketball or only plays baseball. They miss out on the high school experience, and they get worn out. They get, worn out and tired of the sport, and they don't develop external skills that they can transfer from other sports. So if you're a kid listening now and you think, I need to only play baseball, don't. And if there's other sports you'd like to play them. It's not going to make the difference. You playing AAU 24, hours a day for every season isn't going to be the difference. Go play other sports because it's super helpful.
And Billy's dad doesn't have any D1 connections, so even though he tells you he does. So like you've been, you kind of coached at the high school, the college level, being around coaches. Like when coaches are recruiting and stuff, do they look at, does this kid play more than one sport? Is that one?
It's always like, hey, there's this kid, he's a great running back, and then you have this kid, he's a great running back, and he can play hoop. It's a no-brainer. If you got to choose between those two and everything else is equal, you're going with a kid that can play both because he's just a more dynamic athlete. And but there's another whole set of things that come along with that. What kind of teammate was he on the football team? What does his high school football coach say about him? What does his head basketball coach say about him? Do those match up? It's a lot easier. I don't want to say a lot easier because I don't know, but you can check a lot more boxes when a kid plays multiple sports than if he just specializes.
Right.
I agree with that. It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So kind of going with that, I've come in some of your streams, here and there or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't catch every one of them, but I have noticed you've been playing The Sims recently. Is that something you've been getting into?
No, so I never really played The Sims, and as a Twitch partner, there's only so much you could say, but I had a sponsored hour of The Sims. Okay. And I run with this crew called Team Unity. We've been playing Tuesday nights forever for like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, let me just make, it's like your crew, like you guys got the crew. It's like my crew. So I'm like, hey, let's make the crew in Sims and just enjoy this hour and have a lot of fun with it. And you guys know you take certain sponsorships and,
Yeah.
you know, it keeps the lights on.
I was just wondering because I saw you playing The Sims the other day, and I was like, man, is he getting in Sims? I actually, when on Sims 4, I actually did of us as a group, the crew. I did a Big Brother of the crew on Sims.
He trapped us all in one room though, and we all died pretty much.
Yeah,
I was Survivor slash Big Brother. Yeah,
sounds pretty accurate, but it went over really like people really enjoyed watching it so much.
It's fun
so
to
today.
play. Like I think I was like in high school. I don't remember which Sims it was, but like me and some of my friends, like we'd talk about it all the time. Like we just go home and like play Sims, and it's like the dumbest game ever. But we like yeah, I'm gonna go home and work on this, work on my house or whatever. Like we're in high school when everybody else is playing like Madden and stuff. I mean, I played Madden and stuff too, but like we're talking about Sims in class. I'm like, what a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, I was streaming today, and I always stream this game, Escape from Tarkov. It's a survival shooter. I've been playing a lot of Mario Maker, and there's a bunch of people in chat of the community being, "Hey, are we playing Sims today?" I'm like, "What have I done?" But there's a part of me too where it's like I listen to the community a lot, so it's something that like I'm gonna sprinkle in. But I think that's part of what I've learned too is that you got to find the balance of you got to play something you really enjoy. And also you hope that it aligns with what your community wants to see. And when that lines up, that's when I think a lot of special things happen to your channel.
Yeah. So are we going to see, some, 2K20 coming up?
I'm at the point now where there's so many games that I could get into, but after doing this for 7 years, I've really kind of realized I got to pick a lane and stay into it. So, I love the NBA games. I love Madden.
Yeah,
but there's only so much.
A few of them where you're playing 2K19 and stuff. So
but there's only so much time. So like to really the stage where I'm at, and I'm doing this long term. I'm not doing this short term. So to grow and to kind of push and go where I want to go, I got to stay in my lane, and I'll still sprinkle stuff in from time to time. But I really I found out what's worked for me is I focus on one game or two max, and then just kind of. Play those.
Sprinkle something else in every once in a while.
That's what I found works for me.
I think you're so right on that. I've been kind of like you a little bit, where you were talking earlier about this and kind of struck a chord with me, and I'm in the same thing where I have played so many different games, and I've been successful on some games, and some games I have gotten no good feedback. I shouldn't say no good feedback, but not as much as other games. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, do I just need to stay in my lane? Do I need to pick one or two games? And I see these other Twitch streamers, they're sticking with one game. Let's just take DBD, for example, Dead by Daylight. Their communities in Dead by Daylight, it's a game that's been out for years, and a lot of people just strictly watch that game, and they want to watch only that game. And so they'll hop around to only the people that watch DBD and support them and be a good community with that. And I did that for about 6 months, and it worked out really, really well. And then I got away from it. I was like, I want to go play this game. I used to play DayZ all the time. I used to play so and such and Fortnite, blah, 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 blah. And it's not the same. Some people only come to your stream to watch one thing. And I think it works out better if you stay in your lane and have those one or two instead of dipping in every other one. And I say that in the last 3 streams I've done, I played like 6 different games. So I'm not going by my own word, but I think you're right with that. I think if you stay in your lane and do the one or two, you should be, I think that's where you see the most growth anyways. I don't know. Maybe
and I feel it's different for everyone, but for the most part, like my concern is like, I want to focus on 2 games because you don't want to essentially hitch your ride on one because anything could happen to that one game. But I think kind of what you said is like, people will come in and watch you play Dead by Daylight, or they used to, and say like, I don't know, say 500 people come in just to watch you play that. There's a large percentage of chance that some of those people are going to stick around for whatever the next game is, but they may have just found you because you've been playing Dead by Daylight. And I feel like the people that are kind of in it for the long term, and are cool with that, we'll continue to see growth. I still think we're in, I wouldn't call it the gold rush era, but I still think we're really early in the content creation game. And I think we're all very lucky to kind of be in this era where you can do and play whatever you want. And if you're smart about it, you can make a living and grow a business out of doing it.
Yeah. We got into, we always say we got into it too dang early because the money now is ridiculous compared to what it was back then. So we grew a lot in 2013, 2014. That's where we hit our peak. We were playing GTA 5 at the time where we had our biggest growth. And, all of us were gaining thousands of subs a day on YouTube. And that was kind of, I mean, at the time, and a little bit before that, probably around, probably the time you started Twitch, it was Justin.tv. And so I was not messing with that at all. I had some friends, Go Glove, and some other friends that just started it and were doing it. And I was like, why aren't you doing this? It makes no dang sense. Why are you on the streaming platform? And they're like, it's just a different way and it's really cool. You get to interact with people live. But anyways, get to the story. We think that we peaked too early because the biggest amount of money that you can make on a video, because we got our partnerships through Machinima, which was a gaming company that you had to go through them to get a partnership through YouTube, and that's how YouTube was doing it. They were giving these companies partnership abilities, and you had to go through them. So we all got our partnership through them for YouTube to make money. And so having a banner back in the day was the best thing in the world. If you had a banner, you were like legit. And then making money on the video, the 2 CPM was the highest you could make because these companies could throttle you on how much you can make. Now ads have come a long way since then, but if you look on any of your videos,
and there was no mobile ads at that time.
Yeah, mobile was not a thing.
Views were just you made nothing off of those.
So if you had a 2 CPM, you were balling because that was the highest you could have at the time. And a lot of these companies were trying to give you lower than that and then take a percentage of that, and it was a mess basically. But anyways, we had that 2 CPM at the time. We thought we were in the money. We were killing it. And we were doing really well view-wise and subscriber-wise, and everything was going great merch-wise. And then as things go on, we see how much these content creators are making now. And on these simple videos, the 100K views back then and 100K views now are so much different. It's like almost 10 times as much, in some instances, depending on what kind of content you're making, than what we were making. We were making Call of Duty content. Now we have people that are doing vlogs and get 100K and getting to keep like the best of the best when it comes to the ad space. I mean, they're getting 15, 20, 30 CPMs on stuff, and it's like, holy crap, that's nuts to me. I have no clue what I would even do with all that money. So it's crazy now because we think we peaked too early for sure.
No, there's so much time. But for me, I feel very fortunate is that I never approached it looking at as money. It's easy to say when, you win a reality TV show and, when you're mid-20s, but that's how I feel like I've been able to do this so long is that I've never really done it trying to like hack it or anything for money. And I'm not saying you guys did that, but so I've been able to just kind of focus on making the best show possible, making the best videos possible that I can and not worrying about, subscribers and things like that. And I feel like, for me, that's worked out because I think it becomes pretty transparent. And I think it's tough because you see people that really want to succeed on YouTube and Twitch and they put all their eggs in that basket. And I'm not saying that it won't work out for them, but some people put themselves in a position where they have to make X amount from YouTube. And if they don't, they can't keep the lights on or whatever. And so I think that pushes people to take shortcuts. And I think if you're trying to do this long term, you don't want to take any shortcuts, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you talk about these CPMs and stuff like that. I couldn't even tell you what my CPMs are, not because I don't care. I don't know.
It's a lot to mess with. It's a lot to mess with. And when we first started, there was no money whatsoever. We were, I don't want to toot our own horn or say something that's incorrect all the way, but we were the first group of like a group that we got called The Crew because that's what we were. We were the group of friends that started uploading and playing together and all that stuff. We were a group of friends that came together. Then the partnerships happened. And then when the partnerships happened, all these individual YouTubers started to say, hey, if we get together and we share content and we start, helping each other out, then we can make this another group. And so all these little groups started spawning all over the place. And now it's ridiculous to see what people come up with now. And I think like we thought we did things really well back in the day, and we did, but people behind us did it so much better. I would hate to see in 10 to 15 years the content that's being made because it's going to be ridiculous the amount of
It's gonna
editing.
be like movie quality.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, it's getting crazy. Like, I used to record stuff on an HD PVR, and before that, a Dazzle. If you know what a Dazzle is, that thing is the worst thing in the world. But at the time, I thought I was the shit. I thought I was making movie-type quality. And then when we got the HD PVR and we were actually uploading stuff in 720p, I was like, dude, it's not getting better. It's like when you're a kid and you're playing Mario and you're like, the graphics aren't getting better than this. And now you see these games now. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, I would just, in 10 to 15 years, I don't even want to know what's going to be out there. And YouTube's going to change so much. Twitch is going to change so much. There's going to be another competitor to Twitch, probably another competitor to YouTube, I would think, in the next 10, 15 years. Because look at all these other companies that have kind of like come up and then disappeared, like Vine. We've had some other ones that have come in and did a really good job.
All,
and
like,
they lost
merged together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Something becomes popular and something else is popular, and then they just buy each other and become something else popular, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little crazy now, but I wanted to see. I'm really excited about what's in the future, and you're right. I think with your first sentence you said there, Dan, was like, there's still time. There's nothing but time. We all got time. So we'll see. And it seems like the older generation is now jumping into the platforms too, with Twitch and YouTube and finding a space for themselves. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago that ASMR was going to be a thing, I would have laughed at you and probably punched you in the face, or like, you're an idiot. Now that's all that people watch. People watch ASMR 24/7. Those are some of the highest rated videos on YouTube's platform. So I don't know, man. It's just changed a lot in the last 10 years, and you could probably say so yourself since you've been around that long.
Yeah, I just feel like things will always change, and those that are able to adapt and kind of, like, for me, like, my content has changed so much. I'm sure the same for you guys over the past 7 years. And I just now just kind of feel like I'm just kind of starting to get it, you know, and to me, it's encouraging, because if you're doing something for 7 years, you would hope you want to get better. And I feel like my content's gotten better. I have a better understanding of the audience and what they want to see. And like I said, I'm in it for the long haul. So this is something I enjoy doing. I would do it regardless. You know, I probably wouldn't do it as much, you know, given the fact that, you know, I have a family and stuff like that, if it didn't pay, but I would still do it. I just enjoy it. And that sounds cliche, but I mean, you guys know there's something to it when you put out a video or a live stream, and, you know, even say for a video and you're like, oh, this is going to be a good video. And then you see it and people enjoy it. You like reading the comments. It's like, it's such a positive feedback loop.
Yeah. It's almost like a rush. It's almost like, I don't know, you feel like you're worth it. You feel there's a lot of emotions that go into it, but you're right. There's something there when you put up a video and people like it. It encourages you to make more. It gets you kind of hype about what you're going. Your whole mood changes. It's just I don't know. It's a cool little feeling that you get all the time. And sometimes you can kind of take it for granted if things are going really, really well. And I've been in that space, and it's just, you kind of take it for granted. But when you're on the grind and things are a little bit tougher and you get that positive feedback, it just keeps you going at the end of the day. But I get what you're saying. I think we would all be the same way. I don't think we would play as much together, but we started this thing together just playing as friends and continue to play as friends. And we kind of talked to each other to get on YouTube in the first place. I talked to E20 on getting into YouTube, and Sidearms and some of the guys that we have in our crew. When me and Speedy met each other, we were like the only guys that did comedy with call it like playing games, like that we knew of on YouTube. Like that was me and him, like the end. And so we shared that link together, and we kind of sprouted the other guys around, and that was kind of how we got started in the first place. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, making content is just a cool thing, and I think I would still be doing it even if it wasn't being paid for it or anything.
100%.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get into our game section of the where we just kind of do some little questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the first one we do is called "What Are You Digging?" and I'm just going to give you something, and you just kind of whatever pops in your mind or whatever you're into right now.
Okay.
So the very first one is, what food can you not get enough of right now?
Food? I'm a big, so I don't know if do you guys have Kroger out east?
Yeah.
So Kroger's organic brand macaroni and cheese is really good. It's like a throwback good.
How many calories is it? I'm on a diet, though, by the way.
I can't even tell you. I don't think it's that much. It's not bad.
Okay.
But I have no idea.
So are you kind of like a health nut? I mean, or do you just kind of eat whatever?
No, I like during the week. So I work out 5 days a week. So during the week I try to eat pretty well, meaning like no fast food, and and then the weekends I just kind of turn it loose a little bit. Like if I want to eat something, I'll eat something on the weekends. But during the week, I'm pretty dialed in.
It's National Wing Day, by the way. Did you have some wings today?
I did not. I'm actually not a huge I'll eat wings, but kind of a lot of work.
They are a lot of work.
Yeah, and then boneless wings aren't really wings,
right,
giant chicken nugget.
Yeah, we get it.
All right, so our next one, what YouTube channels are you watching right now?
I don't really watch. So that's the thing. I don't watch and this is what people ask me, like, hey, what do you think of the season of Big Brother? My free time and my time, I can either work on my stuff, like YouTube and Twitch, or I can watch stuff. And I'm trying to think. Let me tell you, the last video I watched was, I watched a 90-second clip of Jamie Foxx talking about working with Quentin Tarantino. So I don't really watch any YouTube content.
I don't blame you, man. I get you. And if I were you, I'd probably never watch Big Brother again. It's just weird like that. I don't go back and watch my own content. I don't watch my friends' content a lot of times because I'm there. And so it makes no sense I don't know. If I were you, I'd just probably be done with, because everybody wants to talk about Big Brother 24/7 anyways. Probably.
No, well, I love Big Brother, but, and I watched a couple seasons after mine. It's just such a big time commitment. Big Brother's on 3 nights a week. There's live. It's
dark,
it's
blah,
too
blah,
much.
blah. Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot to watch. And if you miss one, you fall out. So I love the show. And what I do is I follow it through Twitter. That's how I can kind of keep it.
Yeah, I've kind of quit watching the last couple of seasons. Like I just haven't been as much into it. I didn't watch it. Like I watched a couple of times, like when it was first new, and then I didn't watch it for a while. And then I think I started watching it maybe the season before your second season. So like the 13th season, I guess. Weren't you on the 14th? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I remember I did watch the season that you were on as the coach and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't see your first season. So everybody was talking about all of the different coaches that were on there. And I mean, I kind of knew y'all, but I didn't really know. But I mean, I really did enjoy that season. I thought that was a good season. Obviously you could probably see it going a little bit better since you got second, but no. And then, I think I'm trying to think, was that after you met Speedy when you went back on it, or was that before?
So I met Speedy in 2012. So that would have been,
that's early.
Yeah. So 2012 would have been, I think that would have been after the second time I was on.
Okay.
That's when I met Speedy.
Yeah. Cause I remember like when Speedy was like, hey, I met Dan, and cause me and him had talked about it. We just made jokes about it and, Big Brother stuff or whatever, Zingbot and, whatever. So like he was telling me about it, and of course I was like fangirling. I was like, oh my God, you met Dan. I don't care about anybody else that he talked about.
So I started YouTube in 2012. My first ever collaboration was in 2014 with Speedy, Hova, and Sidearms. We played this game called Broforce. It's great. That's the only thing I think I've ever done with Speedy.
Yeah, I think you might have got on and just played another night, like maybe not.
Yeah, I think they talked about it. Yeah, I think they talked like Side and him. They'll bring you up like once a year to like what's Dan Gheesling doing or something like that. They'll always talk about you some way in some form or whatever. But I think y'all got on one time and played together just to play. Because I remember that night, I think, and because we don't usually play with a lot of different people. Just because we don't have time most of the time, and plus, you know how content is these days is kind of weird. But yeah, I thought y'all played one more time together because we didn't have anybody to play with that night, and we're like, we'll just go to bed then or whatever. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. All right, we'll get on to the next one on the what are you digging? What is your go-to game right now? I know you play a lot of Escape from Tarkov, but what's your go-to right now?
Escape from Tarkov and Mario Maker 2. Escape from Tarkov is I really like it. It's the only game. So I grew up playing a ton of games, and there's this game I played back in the day in like the mid 90s. It was online. It was called Ultima Online, and without, I'll give you the short of it. So it was like the first MMO, and before they kind of updated it, and I don't want to call it ruined it, but really changed it, is like you'd have your guys. So imagine playing World of Warcraft, and then you leave the city, and if you got killed, you would lose all your stuff, and whoever killed you would get to keep it. It's like permanent. Yeah. And there really hasn't been a game like that, like Ultima Online, that did that with gear. I know people are going to say RuneScape, but
I was going to say RuneScape because I played RuneScape.
Yeah. But Escape from Tarkov is the first game that does that. So since then, so every time you play it, there's like this sense of fear and consequence where it's like, you could be one bullet away from losing like $1 million worth of gear. And on the flip side, you can take someone down and you get to keep their stuff. It's a really like, it creates an emotional experience. Almost, it's like a DayZ, I guess you could say, but it's a little bit more, I mean, it's a tighter gameplay. It's a little more.
A lot more time on your gear too. With DayZ, you're picking up stuff, you're killing a couple people, things are ruined and stuff, and you're emotionally attached to your character, and when you die, you're super pissed, and you do not want to, spawn again. But yeah, I can see where that's a little bit more invested.
Yeah, so that's been good in Mario Maker 2. I've really been enjoying it. And it's been cool because I really genuinely love those games. And it's cool because the community also really enjoys watching. Because there's games that I'm sure you guys know, there's games that you love and it's like, hey, they don't want to watch it. So
I feel like
you don't play it.
Worse than when you find a game and you're like, oh, I love this game so much, but like nobody wants to wants to watch it. So you're like, do I waste, 6 hours of this day playing the game that I want to play and get no content or,
Yeah.
So. I'm into Rainbow Six right now, Dan, and I'm posting on my channel, and I don't care if no one watches it at all because I enjoy it. So that's
good for you. And I think that's important to do because I think regardless, that will shine through in your content. If you really love something, it's going to come through, and I think it's going to be good content. It may not have the numbers or whatever you're looking for, but there's going to be people that enjoy that. And I have a series going on like that. I post one video a week. It's MLB The Show. And I enjoy playing it, and there's like a smaller group that enjoy watching it, and it's kind of like you keep it going because it's fun, but you may not make it your steady diet.
Yeah.
Per se.
I get it. I saw some clips of that game, by the way, before you get in there, because it's pretty cool, because I've seen Gogla play that a lot. He plays that quite a bit, and that's the only game I'll watch him play that much because he's been playing it for years and years and years. But I really like that game. It's got some cool features to
it. Dude, I'm not an MLB guy at all. I'll go to one baseball game a year, one Tigers game, and I'll maybe watch 2 innings. But this game, they take the best parts of baseball, hitting, and when the ball gets hit to you, and that's all it is. So there's no waiting around. It's just they really condense it down to make the game a really fun experience to play because you only play when you're involved in the play. Everything else is kind of simulated.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. All right, our last one for What Are You Digging is what is your favorite thing as a dad?
Ooh.
What's one of your favorite things that you just like? How old are you? You have 2 boys, right?
Yeah, so I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I think the best thing outside of like some of the cliche stuff is that it really gives me an excuse to act like a kid again, like play with boys and play with them. And there's so much depth to it, and I can't really give it to you in one answer, but it's a total amplifier of life. I think that's the best way to put it, is that, for me, in my experience, having 2 boys, which was like hitting the jackpot, not that I, of course I want
grand slams back to back.
Carrying that name, baby.
Not that of course I'd love to have a daughter too, but it's just a life amplifier. Like you enjoy everything so much more. Life takes on a different meaning, and I have no other way to say it than it just amplifies life, and in every way it makes things tough, but also more worthwhile. But you adapt and you change. But it's my favorite thing in my life is that I get to be a dad.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge as a dad?
I'd say honestly, like giving you the real stuff is that balancing. Like I'm a workaholic, any chance I get to work or, I just love it. I enjoy what I do both online and I have a business offline. I love it. And so it's really kind of balancing that with being around. And, I'm fortunate I kind of can have some freedom to do that. But, there's an element of, that I deal with is an element of guilt where it's like, hey, I'm working a lot. Am I missing anything? And if I feel like that, then I'll adjust my schedule and I'll spend more time at home. But I'd say that's the big thing is just finding, internally the balance of, hey, am I spending the time where I need to?
Yeah. All right. So our next game that we're going to play is called Higher or Lower. And, so you may know the answer to some of these questions because I've based them completely on Big Brother.
Oh, God.
And, on you. So the way it works, I'll ask a question and Deluxe 4 is going to give me an answer.
Okay.
And he knows nothing about Big Brother, so he may be way off or he may be pretty
Sorry,
close.
Dan.
Who knows?
I don't watch Big Brother.
Hey, it's all good, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to give a question, and then he's going to answer it to the best of his ability, and you're going to tell me whether you think that answer is higher or lower.
Okay, like the actual answer, like the real answer.
Yeah,
okay,
like what the real answer is. So some of these, like I said, you may know the answer to because I just pulled them off of Big Brother's Wikipedia, and they're questions kind of based on your gameplay. And so you may know it, you may not. So, all right, the very first one. So D4 is going to answer first, and then you'll tell me what you think of that. All right, the number of days that Dan was in the Big Brother house. He was on for 2 seasons. So, what is the number of days he was actually in the house?
You looked this up? What are you, dude? All right, number of days. I'm gonna say 100. I'm gonna say 100.
Okay, 100.
I'm gonna say higher, but I don't know the exact number.
Okay, it is higher. It was 146.
Okay.
So, and
I mean, you say okay, like, dude, that's half a year with no TV, no internet, no family locked into a room. Like, that's not okay.
You
It's
got
not
compensated, though, my man. You got compensated, all right?
you did well both times. It's not like you weren't first to go home or anything like that.
How did
Which
you
I'll be
okay,
honest,
can I ask this before everything else? How did you get on the show real quick? You don't have to, like, give me 100 hours.
Yeah, how's the interview process?
I send in a video. Then if they like you, you go to an in-person interview, like in your region. If they like you there, they fly you out to LA. You're in a hotel for a week. You do a bunch of interviews there. If they like you, then maybe you're on the show.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
like,
much.
what was in your first initial video? What'd you say? Hi, I'm Dan. I like football and,
I love football.
Yeah, I leveraged the heck out of, like, I would do stuff from 16 to age 21. And even beyond, I would do stuff just so I could talk about it in my videos. So I ran a marathon untrained in a week's notice, just so, not because I wanted to, just because I knew I could talk about it in casting.
Dude,
so I really
so
spent
smart.
like
because
otherwise, like,
but he's like, I gotta finish.
but, so I, just that kind of stuff. And you try to, like, I would just read what I was saying, something the producers were interested in. I would kind of elaborate on that. It's just a cat and mouse game, really.
You're smart, dude. I like it.
I don't, we all have different talents. I don't think intellectually, I think I'm of average, but I think socially, I'm just able to do that. It is what it is. To me, I always listen 10 times more than I talk. So it's a little bit easier to read people that way.
I have noticed that in this podcast that you've listened a lot and let me finish my sentence and then start. A lot of people will kind of chime in the middle, but you listen. I like it, Dan. Good job.
Dude, I drove into the office today to record this and I'm like, today I'm going to turn it loose. I'm not going to ask any questions. So this is like Dan Light. Normally I'll be lobbing them at you left and right, but, but I said, you know what? They asked me to come on their podcast, so I'm going to turn it back.
I like it, man.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So we'll go on to our next one. So the next one, so D4, there's 2 basic kind of competitions that they have. There's head of household competitions and power of veto competitions.
Okay.
How many total of those 2 has Dan competed in?
Competed in? Yeah. I'm gonna say.
So I'll give you a quick rundown. So if you're already, like, head of household is kind of the main person that puts people up to be, eliminated or whatever.
Correct.
But if you're head of household, the next week you cannot play in it. So you can't be back to back for it. And then power of veto, you get, like, if you're on the block or if your name's drawn, is that right, Dan? Like,
kind of like Survivor a little bit. I watched Survivor.
Yeah.
So okay.
You get it that way. So
I'm gonna say Dan was very liked, cause he said that too, and I think D20 and I talked about this, but, I'm gonna say 20. I'm gonna just throw that out there, 20.
20? Okay.
Oof. You know what? This is a question I've never been asked. I don't know the answer to. However, I'm going to say 2 seasons. How many I competed in?
Yes.
12, 14 weeks a season. I'm going to say more, but not by much more.
Okay. It was more. It was 30.
Okay.
So it was, it was pretty good, close there. Okay.
It's pretty good.
All right. So our next one, as of for the 2018 season, so last season, how much a week do the contestants get paid while they're on Big Brother.
More than I got paid. I want to say. Never mind.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You want to get Julie Chen on the phone?
All right. I think our boy Dan got paid $1,000.
Well, this isn't for Dan. This is
I know.
last season. Okay.
So I'm gonna say Dan got paid $1,000 a week, and I'm gonna say they get paid $3,000 a week.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of money, I know. But I'm just
lower, way lower.
They make $750.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
week.
closer than what Dan. Well, I thought Dan was making. All right, cool. Dang! Wow, dude, they don't pay y'all crap.
No, they don't have to. They
do you
probably
remember
pay
how much did you get paid per week?
that amount, $750. I thought they got paid a little more, but no, $750.
Wow.
Let's see. All right, the next one.
Not the second time though. I negotiated it up front.
My man. All right.
You weren't there. Yeah, when you did the coaching, didn't y'all come in like after it already started?
Yeah, but just to step foot in, I'm like, they're like, hey, we want to pay you this. I'm like, how about this? They're like, okay.
Hey, did you get any, okay, so yeah, you got money, but did you like a trophy or a medal or anything cool to like have in your house?
Yeah, so when I won, I have the big check.
Yeah.
And they gave me a bunch of stuff, but I have like the key and some stuff
cool.
like that.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
What do you get when you're runner up? Did you get a smaller check?
I didn't get I got a copy of the DVDs and some props or something.
That's cool.
All right, so I think Dan might know the answer on this one, but this one is: how old was the oldest contestant ever on Big Brother for the U.S. version of Big Brother?
I'm going to say 70.
Okay.
Older is correct. It was
78.
It was 75. It was Jerry.
Oh, Jerry. Yeah.
Okay. Did he die on Big Brother?
You're close. All right. The next one. Do it.
I said, did he die on Big Brother or not?
No, he fell into a pool though.
Oh, okay.
He
almost drowned. But
pretty cool. Yeah. All right. All right. So the next one. Season 10 was the shortest season. The season that you won was the shortest season ever.
Oh wow.
Thank God.
Dan dominated, huh?
Thank God. Where is that? Okay. How many days did it last?
He said 14 weeks. I think he said. I'm probably not a very good listener, so I'm gonna say how many days you said?
Yeah, how many days? It was the shortest
days.
season.
85 days.
85 days.
Yeah.
Less is correct. It was 71.
71? Yeah.
71.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, damn,
okay.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, it's like asking me how many,
Dude, he knows
how many 3-pointers did I make in Game 7?
Yeah, he's like.
There's nothing else to think about when you're locked in there.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's true. Like, what do you do to like, I mean, I know they're like recording you at all times, but like, what was like your go-to thing to just kind of like zone out and like just pass the time?
That's why the game's so taxing for me. I don't zone out. I zone in. Like I will just
and no one people ramble on about their cats or something. And
I hammer people. I hammer people with questions so I get to know them and develop relationships. So that when that off chance that something bounces your way and you get in trouble, so I would do nothing but ask people questions and get to know people 24 hours a day. It's really, I mean, it takes a lot of energy, like a ton of energy to be able to do that. Because at some point, like people don't do that. They check out, they get in fights, and I would just, anyone there, I would just grind out and get to know them. Dude,
Speaking of getting in fights, isn't there a guy that was on one of your seasons that's like a professional wrestler?
Yeah, Jesse. He's
is he still doing that?
I think he was in like couple, not WWE, but kind of like a couple
like
of the
TNA
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So the next one, the season finale of season 10, which is when you won. How many viewers were estimated?
Ooh.
I'm not good with TV viewers. I'm gonna say 2 million.
Okay.
I know it's more than that.
Is it?
Yeah. But
what's your guess, Dan?
I would guess somewhere around between 6 and 7.
Oh, is it actually 17.62 million
for the finale?
For the finale, yeah.
Wow, no way. Where are you getting these numbers from?
Wikipedia. It can't be wrong.
That's like Super Bowl is like 50 million, I think.
Well, I think it said that it was like season 10 was one of the lower viewed seasons.
Big Brother 10 finale.
Yeah, they were like, just get it over with. It was the shortest season. They're like, nobody's watching. Let's get it over with.
Dude, your numbers are off. The season finale had a total of 7.63 million viewers. 17 million is like NBA Finals numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it was just.
Well, Dan got it then. It was close.
Yeah. Okay, we'll give it to him.
See, I have no clue about TV ratings. When they talk about this stuff, I'm like, well, PewDiePie got more than that, like, in his last video. Like,
well, that's the thing, man. Like, people don't, like, these companies they're slowly coming, but they don't realize, like, a video from PewDiePie can be more than the Super Bowl. Right. You know, it's crazy, but the business is, like, lagging behind. Like, marketing lags behind the actual media, which, you know, makes room for guys like you and I to, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why, like you were talking about, like how, you know, YouTube is just growing exponentially is because companies are finally seeing like, hey, like kids don't watch TV anymore. They watch YouTube. Like that's where we need to be spending our, you know, budget.
And there's like a fraction of companies that get it. You know, like they don't like, you know, I'm pull up Dr. Disrespect. Like, he's got a couple really big companies, but you just don't see that on Twitch. You don't see, like, he's got Gillette, you know, that's a pretty big company that sponsors him. You should see that all throughout Twitch. And I think you're going to see more and more of it. You know, like, even Ninja, the biggest, you know, one of the biggest on the platform, like, he should have Nike. He should have, like, big sponsors because they're going to get return on that money. And you don't see it.
Adidas hasn't picked him up yet. That's kind of crazy to me.
So, I mean, someone, like, it'll happen.
Yeezy's coming out.
It'll happen, though. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of.
He's doing, like, Samsung. But, I mean, I feel like Samsung and some of those, like, tech companies, like, they get it. Like, you know, they've been in it for a while. Like, like LG, Samsung, like, all the gaming kind of stuff like Corsair and, you know, Razer and all that stuff. Like they understand it because they're in the space. But like you said, like Gillette and some of these other places, like, I mean, if you think about it, like some of the people that are, you know, sponsors for videos and podcast, like Squarespace or somebody like that, like they, you know, nobody would probably know what Squarespace is if they weren't on like every podcast and every, you know, YouTube sponsorship. You know what I mean? Like they've made a name for themselves because they understand where they need to spend their money.
Right. Not only that, but they're 10x, you know, 100xing their money because they're so early. You know, they've been so early. So like 20 years from now, you know, ad read on your podcast is going to cost 20 times more than it does now. Just, you know, it's just crazy, man. Like, there's just so much opportunity, which is why everything that we do is so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
maybe not, it's not going to cost 20x, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than it is now because once, you know, the Coca-Colas and the big players get in, it's going to drive the price up, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, we're looking for sponsorship. So if someone's listening to this, we'll give you in 10 years, we'll give you 20 times the rate.
Honestly, like if you dialed in on your demographics, not saying that you're not, if you guys made sales calls, you would get a sponsor for the podcast. 100%. Yeah. You know, it's just, it depends if you want to have someone else do that for you or if you want to do it.
Yeah. We've kind of just like started like going into it because we've kind of talked about like, should we do it? Should we not do it? And like, we've kind of just like, yeah, let's, you know, reach out. So we're kind of in the beginning stages of doing that kind of stuff, but
yeah.
And like, I mean, we're new to it. It's all a new space. Like even when we did the crew, podcast thing, like it was just on YouTube. Like we didn't put it on like Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff, which we probably should have.
Yeah. I couldn't be bothered.
But,
I was like, whatever.
Yeah, so now we're doing, you know, across like every platform pretty much and just trying to like push it out there everything we can. But anyway, let's get into our last higher or lower. But all right, so the very last one is number of total episodes between the two seasons that Dan was on. Like how many episodes on TV was he on?
Between both of them?
Between the two seasons.
Okay, so when's the episode? Once a week? Did I get that?
3 times.
No, Tom. I told you that during the podcast.
Yeah, you weren't listening.
My bad.
He's not going to make it to the final.
I'll make it even. Let's go 60. He's in 60 because you said he came in half of one and he was on one. He's on 60.
Well, hold on. Before we do this, Dan, I'm going to invite you into another call real quick, and we're going to start our own secret alliance so he doesn't know about it, and we're going to vote him off next. No, but okay, so 60.
60.
That's a fair guess.
Yeah.
All right, Dan?
That's really close because it's right there, plus or minus 2. I just don't know if it's plus or minus. If you count episodes that I was a guest on that came back, it's more. If you count less, it's going to be real close, if not the number.
Okay, well, I'm going
to say more. I'm going to say more.
Okay, I counted just the one from your 2 seasons, so the ones you came back is like,
Less
whatever.
then. Less.
Okay. Less. All right. And the answer is 59. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good. That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah,
Pretty good guess by D4, so
Okay.
can't fault him for that. All right, that's going to do it for our game stuff. So we're just going to kind of have a wrap up kind of section here, and pretty much you can kind of plug whatever your stream schedule or just kind of
Your Twitter, your anything. Anything you want.
anything that you're wanting to plug right now. It's the floor is yours. So
Yeah. So you can find me everywhere, and I'm very diligent about snatching my name. I try to be early on every platform. So it's just Dan Gheesling, DanGheesling on Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. My main focus is I put up 2 new videos every day on youtube.com/Dan Gheesling, and I produce a show 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Dan Gheesling. And there I focus on making a show that's focused on clean, positive entertainment. And I treat it like a show. I kind of use my background, from CBS and being on TV. And I don't just turn on the stream and just stream for hours on it. And I have a show. There's segments. There's a beginning, middle, and end. And I try to make it, the goal of the show is to either make you smile or laugh or forget about everything that's going on. And I'm pretty diligent about making sure the community is that way as well. There's no really negativity. It's just focused on clean, positive entertainment you could watch with your grandma in the room, your little cousin, whatever. And I just have a lot of fun with it. And the community's super dialed in, super supportive. And so I'd say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at twitch.tv/Dan Gheesling at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then I have a podcast at the Dan Gheesling Podcast. I do something similar. I interview friends in the gaming space. Also have a bit of a diary/journal of everything going on that I try. I treat this like a business, so I'm always trying different things. Last week, I got a number so people can text me, so I'm going to talk about that. I try a lot. Yeah, I try a lot of different stuff. And on the podcast, I say, hey, this worked. This didn't work. This is a problem I ran into. And so the goal of the podcast is just that you get some value from it, whether you laugh or you learn something or something, you apply whatever, someone interview that you take away something from the interview, you apply to your life. So just always trying to make things better around for people that listen or watch.
Yeah. So where all can they find your podcast?
So podcast is on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. It's just Dan Gheesling Podcast. And we're about to hit 1 year tomorrow. So it'll be 52 episodes and just had a Grand Pooh Bear on this week. He's a legendary speed runner. He's a Red Bull athlete, really interesting guy. And I feel like out of everything, that's where I excel. I don't excel in this kind of format. This is about the most someone can get out of me. I do a lot of, I feel like I'm a phenomenal interviewer, meaning that I can pull the best out of people because I really listen and kind of get out of the way. So, but thank you guys so much for bringing me on, and you guys got a lot out of me, and it's not my typical spot that I'm in. I like asking the questions, not answering them. So, thank you guys for having me on.
Hey, you're awesome, Dan.
Enjoyed it.
It was good to get to know you a little bit. First time meeting you, definitely good impressions. If y'all want to check out Dan, definitely links down in the description. Help this man out. Go check him out. Just go say hi to him on Twitch. Do something. But I appreciate you one more time, Dan. Thanks for coming on, my man.
Dude, thanks for having me.
All right.
Later, guys.
Later.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for another GFY podcast. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of reality TV and, of course, Dan. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Check out all of our podcasts, every single one. Listen to all of them wherever you find your podcast. But you can check us out at anchor.fm/GFY podcast. And you can go to anywhere that podcasts might be available.
Remember, this week we also have the video up on D20's channel. That's the first time this week, so show that video some love. If you're seeing it on YouTube, go ahead and do that. If you are listening on any of the other platforms, make sure you hit it up on YouTube as well. But I just want to say thank you for all the continued support and everybody leaving all the great comments and thumbs up. I get so many messages throughout the week saying they look forward to this podcast. We're going to keep doing this podcast as long as you guys support it. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And don't forget to hit those thumbs up.